Across the next few minutes, we're going to walk through the most unusual body of evidence in recorded history. Cases where ordinary people received information about events that have yet to happen.
Does it get better? All of this pain?
Every scar builds the bridge we stand on.
Then I will keep walking.
The year is 1759, a dinner party in Gothenburg, Sweden. 15 distinguished guests at a long oak table. Candlelight paints their faces gold, silver scrapes against porcelain. A genteel evening among men of science and letters. Then one guest rises from his chair. His face has gone ashen. He walks to the window, stares into the gathering dusk, and speaks a sentence that would echo 3 centuries of documented history. There's a fire in Stockholm. Stockholm sits 300 miles away. The man is Emanuel Swedenborg, scientist, engineer, anatomist, member of the Swedish Royal Academy, author of mathematical treatises that had shaped European intellectual thought for decades. Yet on this particular evening, something inside him has opened. For 2 hours, Swedenborg describes the fire as it unfolds. The street where it began, the homes catching one by one, the direction of the wind. The moment a neighbor's house reduces itself to ash, the precise instant flames halt 3 doors from his own residence. When messengers finally arrive from Stockholm days later, every detail Swedenborg had described matches the written record of the fire. Every house, every timing, every moment. The philosopher Immanuel Kant, skeptical to his bones, investigates the case personally. He interviews witnesses, cross-references the timing, logs the accounts. In a private letter dated 1763, Kant admits he lacks any rational framework for what had occurred. One man, 300 miles, information arriving before the horseback's messengers had carried it. Something happened in the Gothenburg dining room, something that has been happening across every century of human record, across every culture, across every continent. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Across the next few minutes, we're going to walk through the most unusual body of evidence in recorded history. Cases where ordinary people received information about events that have yet to happen. Cases logged by scientists, investigated by philosophers, recorded in courtroom documents, and preserved in newspaper archives across 4 centuries. You've heard of the famous examples, the Titanic, Lincoln, Jean Dixon. These cases are at the surface of a far deeper archive. And beneath the well-known stories lies a library of obscure, investigated, verified events, pointing to something profound about the architecture of consciousness itself. Every case I'm about to share passed through serious verification, witnesses on record, letters preserved, newspaper reporting, court testimony, scientific investigation. By the end of this episode, you will understand the future self communicates. Future self communication is ancient, documented, real. And across the last 2 centuries, the phenomenon has been accelerating in ways that should grip anyone that's paying attention. The year is 1812. Cornish tin mine manager named John Williams wakes from a dream so vivid it pulls him upright at 3 a.m. In the dream, Williams stands in the lobby of the House of Commons in London. A tall man in a gray coat walks through the entrance. A shorter man wearing a brown coat with brass buttons steps forward, raises a pistol, and fires. The man in gray collapses, chest soaked in blood, dead on the marble floor. Williams wakes shaking. He dismisses the dream as imagination. The following night, the dream repeats, identical detail. The third night, the same. Williams writes letters to friends in London, warning them something terrible is coming. To Parliament, he considers making the journey himself to raise the alarm in person. Family convinces him to stay home. He has, after all, only dreamed a dream. 9 days later, on May 11th, 1812, British Prime Minister Spencer Percival walks through the lobby of the House of Commons. A man named John Bellingham steps forward, draws a pistol, and fires a single shot into Percival's chest. Percival collapsed on the marble floor, dead within minutes. The man in gray, the brown coat, the brass buttons, the pistol, the lobby. Every element rendered exactly as Williams had seen it across 3 nights in the week leading up to the assassination. Williams' letters posted before the event were preserved and later cataloged by the British Society for Psychical Research. They remain in the archive today. You can read them. 3 years later, the phenomenon visits the most recognizable man in America. April 1865, President Abraham Lincoln sits with his wife Mary and his close bodyguard Ward Hill Lannon in the small library of the White House. Lincoln had been withdrawn and brooding for days, finally speaks. "I had a dream the other night, which has haunted me ever since," Lincoln said. Lamon would later record Lincoln's exact words in his memoir published in 1895. The account survives in the Library of Congress. In the dream, Lincoln walks through the silent corridors of the White House. He hears weeping. He follows the sound. Room by room, he searches until he arrives at the East Room. A catafalque stands at the center, draped in black. A corpse lies on the raised platform, face covered. Soldiers guard the room. Mourners weep. Lincoln approaches a soldier and asks, "Who is dead in the White House?" The soldier says, "The president. He was killed by an assassin." 3 nights later, on April 14th, 1865, Lincoln is shot at Ford's Theater. He dies the following morning. His body lies in state in the East Room of the White House on a catafalque, draped in black, guarded by soldiers, surrounded by mourners, every element of the dream rendered in reality. Summer 1858. Samuel Clemens, who would later become Mark Twain, is a 22-year-old cub pilot on the Mississippi. His younger brother Henry serves on the same circuit aboard the steamboat Pennsylvania. One night in St. Louis, Samuel has a dream. He sees Henry laid out as a corpse in a metal burial coffin. The casket rests on 2 chairs in the sisters' parlor. A bouquet of white flowers sits on Henry's chest, and at the center of the white bouquet, a single crimson bloom. Samuel wakes convinced his brother has died. He walks into his sister's parlor in the morning, expecting to find the coffin. The parlor is empty. Relieved, he dismisses the dream. 2 weeks later, on June 13th, 1858, the steamboat Pennsylvania explodes near Memphis. Henry Clemens is severely burned and dies days later. Samuel arrives at the Memphis morgue to find the dead of the disaster laid in simple wooden coffins provided by the city. Henry, however, rests differently. The women of Memphis, moved by Henry's youth and beauty, had pooled their money to commission a special casket, metal, singular, unlike any other coffin in the building. Samuel stands frozen, the metal coffin, precisely as he had dreamed. An elderly woman approaches with a bouquet of white flowers. She places them on Henry's chest. Just before stepping away, she reaches into her basket, pulls out a single crimson rose, and lays it at the center of the white bouquet. Twain would write about this dream for the rest of his life. The account appears in his autobiography, published after his death. Scholars have verified the coffin, the flowers, the woman, the setting, every detail. The year is 1898. An American writer named Morgan Robertson, struggling to pay his rent, sits down to write a sensational novel about a massive ocean liner. He titles the book Futility or the Wreck of the Titan. In Robertson's novel, the ship is named the Titan. It is the largest vessel ever built. It measures roughly 800 feet to length. It carries insufficient lifeboats for the passengers aboard. Its owners describe it as practically unsinkable. It sails from England toward New York in the month of April. On the starboard side at night, it strikes an iceberg and sinks in the North Atlantic. The majority of the passengers perish. Robertson's novel sells modestly and fades from memory. 14 years later, on April 14, 1912, the RMS Titanic sails from England toward New York, the largest ship ever built, 862 feet in length. Insufficient lifeboats. Described by its owners as practically unsinkable. On the starboard side at night, it strikes an iceberg and sinks in the North Atlantic. The majority of passengers perish. When reporters tracked down Morgan Robertson in the weeks after the disaster, they asked how he had done it. Robertson responded with a single sentence that would haunt him until his death 2 years later in a hotel room in Atlantic City. "I knew what I was writing about. That is all." The novel sits in the public domain. You can purchase a print copy and read it today. The parallels extend far beyond what has been listed. Robertson would write another prescient novel in 1914 titled Beyond the Spectrum, describing a surprise aerial attack by Japan on the Hawaiian Islands in December, carried out by flying vessels dropping explosive bombs. Pearl Harbor, December 1941. 27 years later, Robertson set it to paper. The year is 1902. An aeronautical engineer named John William Dunne, a pioneer of early British aviation, wakes from a dream of a volcanic eruption. In the dream, Dunne stands on an island as molten ash buries a town. He sees a number, 40,000 people dead. Days later, newspapers reach him. Mont Pelee, a volcano on the French island of Martinique, has erupted. Early reports estimate 40,000 dead. The actual death toll would later be revised to 29,000, yet the initial newspaper figures match the number in Dunne's dream with unsettling precision. Dunne begins to keep a dream journal. Over the next decade, he logs hundreds of dreams. Many of them, he discovers, correspond to events that would unfold in the days ahead. Newspaper articles he had yet to read, conversations he had yet to have, places he had yet to visit. In 1927, Dunne publishes a book titled An Experiment with Time. It becomes one of the most influential works of early 20th century philosophy of mind. T.S. Eliot, J.B. Priestley, C.S. Lewis, and Jorge Luis Borges all cite Dunne's work as transformational. Dunne's thesis is straightforward. Time, as we experience it, is an illusion of sequencing. Consciousness has access to information across the full span of existence. In dreams, the sequencing filter relaxes, and what lies ahead bleeds through. Dunne was among the first to propose a rigorous framework for the phenomenon. He was also among the first to test it, asking colleagues to keep their own journals. The replications multiplied. Across the same era in Britain, Dame Edith Lyttelton, a prominent social reformer and later president of the Society for Psychical Research, began collecting premonitions in writing. Her 1937 volume, titled Some Cases of Predilection, documented over 1,000 verified prophetic dreams and visions, each case cross-referenced with witnesses, each dated before the events occurred. Among her strongest cases was a dream from a Miss Bertha Collins, logged in her diary on June 15, 1900. In the dream, Collins saw the face of a young sailor she had never met, accompanied by the words, "The ship will go down off Table Bay." She wrote the description in her diary, showed it to her sister. 3 weeks later, the SS Mexican sank off Table Bay near Cape Town. A single survivor made his way to the British press with a photograph. Collins recognized him instantly, the young man in her dream. Her diary, preserved by her family, was later verified by Lyttelton's researchers. The handwriting, the date, the signature of her sister as witness. 2 decades later, in 1963, the playwright J.B. Priestley appeared on BBC television and asked the British public to send him their experiences of time. He received thousands of letters. Priestley sorted them, cataloged them, published the strongest cases in his book Man and Time, released in 1964. The archive included accounts from train drivers, nurses, school teachers, factory workers, ordinary people describing extraordinary events, dreams of airplane crashes that arrived days before the crash, visions of relatives dying in distant cities, premonitions of winning lottery numbers, house fires, car accidents, promotions, marriages, deaths. Priestley's conclusion, published in an era dominated by materialist science, was direct. The weight of evidence is overwhelming. Human consciousness has access to the future. The mechanism remains a mystery, yet the phenomenon is undeniable. October 20th, 1966. The Welsh coal mining village of Aberfan. At 9:15 in the morning, a mountain of coal waste saturated by weeks of heavy rain collapsed and buried the Pantglas Junior School. 144 people died, 116 of them were children. It was one of the darkest days in 20th century British history. In the weeks before the disaster, dozens of people across Britain had written letters, told family members, or logged in journals accounts of the tragedy before it occurred. The most piercing of them belonged to a 10-year-old girl named Eryl Jones. The morning before the collapse, Eryl sat with her mother at the kitchen table and said, "Mummy, I dreamed I went to school and there was no school there. Something black had come down all over it." Her mother dismissed the dream. Eryl Jones died the following morning when the slag heap buried Pantglas Junior School. A psychiatrist named John Barker, who had been visiting the village to interview survivors, was so struck by the number of premonitions logged before the event that he placed an advertisement in the London Evening Standard requesting accounts. 76 people responded with verifiable premonitions, dreams, visions, waking impressions. Barker was shaken. In 1967, he founded the British Premonitions Bureau. The mission was simple: collect premonitions in real time before events unfold and determine whether the Bureau could predict disasters in advance. The Bureau received thousands of letters in the first years. Many of them would correspond with later events. One contributor, a music teacher named Kathleen Middleton, produced so many accurate predictions that Barker assigned her a dedicated tracking file. In 1968, Middleton wrote to Barker describing a vision of a falling aircraft. Days later, a British European Airways Trident crashed at Staines, killing all 118 people aboard. Similar bureaus were founded in New York and Toronto. The Central Premonitions Bureau, based in Manhattan, received over 4,000 logged premonitions between 1968 and 1975. The premonitions were real enough to warrant institutions. The year is 1886. A British journalist named William T. Stead publishes a short story titled "How the Mail Steamer Went Down in Mid-Atlantic by a Survivor." The story describes a passenger liner that strikes another vessel in the North Atlantic and sinks with massive loss of life due to insufficient lifeboats. Stead includes an editorial note at the end of the story. He warns his readers that the shipping industry routinely sails passenger vessels with lifeboat capacity far below the number of souls aboard. He states that someday a disaster of this exact shape will unfold. 6 years later, Stead publishes a second story, From the Old World to the New. A fictional ocean liner rescues survivors from a sinking vessel near an iceberg in the North Atlantic. The captain of the rescuing ship in the story bears the name Edward Smith. On April 10th, 1912, W.T. Stead boards the RMS Titanic as a first-class passenger traveling to New York to deliver a lecture on peace. The captain of the Titanic is Edward Smith. The ship strikes an iceberg in the North Atlantic. It carries insufficient lifeboats. Eyewitnesses Accounts played Stead on the deck during the final minutes, helping women and children into lifeboats and offering his own life vest to other passengers. He went down with the ship. 2 short stories, both published in widely circulated newspapers, both describing elements of the very disaster that would claim their author. The archive is deep. We have pulled only a handful of threads from a library spanning 4 centuries. The year is 2011. Daryl Bem, a professor of psychology at Cornell University, publishes a paper in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology titled Feeling the Future: Experimental Evidence for Anomalous Retroactive Influences on Cognition and Affect. The paper reports 9 experiments involving over 1,000 students. The design tests a single hypothesis. Can human cognition be influenced by future events? Bem's results are staggering. In 8 of his 9 experiments, students performed measurably above chance at risks where the correct answer had yet to be selected by the computer. The statistical significance of the combined results stands at odds of billions to 1 against chance. The paper ignites a firestorm across academic psychology. Skeptical researchers attempt to replicate. Some fail. Others, including independent laboratories in Italy, Germany, and the United Kingdom, confirm Bem's findings. A 2015 meta-analysis combining 90 experiments across 14 laboratories published the peer-reviewed journal F1000 Research confirmed the effect at overwhelming statistical significance. Odds against chance, 10 billion to 1. The academic establishment grew quiet. Bem's work, built on decades of earlier research by Dean Radin at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. Radin's presentiment studies, conducted since the early 1990s, measured autonomic nervous system responses to images the subjects had yet to see. Subjects consistently showed measurable physiological responses to disturbing images seconds before the images appeared on the screen. The body, it seemed it knew what was coming. The heart rate changed, skin conductance shifted, pupils dilated, all of it arriving before any image had been presented. Radin replicated these findings across hundreds of subjects. The results held. Across the same decades, a British man named Chris Robertson became one of the most studied precognitive subjects in modern psychological research. Robertson, a former pest control officer from Bedfordshire, began dreaming of crimes before they occurred in the early 1990s. His dreams included specific street names, vehicle descriptions, the appearance of suspects, and precise timing of events. He began calling the local Bedfordshire police and providing information before crimes unfolded. At first, the police dismissed him. Over time, as his accuracy grew, officers began documenting his dreams in case files. Robertson assisted the Bedfordshire Constabulary with multiple cases across the decade, leading to arrests and recovered stolen property. In the late 1990s, Dr. Gary Schwartz at the University of Arizona invited Robertson into a controlled study. Schwartz, a Harvard-trained psychologist, designed experiments to test Robertson's abilities under laboratory conditions. Robertson dreamed of unfamiliar photographs sealed in envelopes across the country, then described their contents before the envelopes were opened. Schwartz published the results. They held up under scrutiny. Robertson's dream journals, maintained daily for over 2 decades, reside in archives at the University of Arizona. A more recent voice in the field belongs to an American researcher named Wargo, who holds a doctorate in anthropology from Emory University. In 2018, Wargo published Time Loops, Precognition, Retrocausalities, and the Unconscious. Wargo's thesis builds on everything we have examined tonight, drawing from quantum physics, Freudian dream analysis, and a vast archive of documented cases. He argues that human consciousness regularly receives information from its own future, usually through dreams, sometimes through intuition, occasionally through waking visions. The key insight that sets Wargo's work apart is this: most precognitive experiences are future memories of the experiencer's own future perceptions. You are remembering in advance what your own eyes will see. You dream of a car accident because your future self will witness it. You dream of a stranger because your future self will meet them. You dream of a newspaper headline because your future self will read it. The sender and the receiver are the same consciousness. The message crosses time. Wargo's framework synthesizes a century of data. It also lays the groundwork for something more interesting. If your future self can send information backwards through time, you can, in principle, establish a relationship with that sender. You can, in essence, write letters to yourself across the continuum. The year is 1974. Science fiction author Philip K. Dick has been receiving what he describes as transmissions from higher intelligence for months. He calls the source VALIS, an acronym for Vast Active Living Intelligence System. One afternoon, Dick is overwhelmed by what he later described as a beam of pink light entering his mind. The beam tells him that his infant son Christopher has an undiagnosed hernia that is about to become life-threatening. Dick rushes his son to the hospital. Doctors initially dismiss his concern. Dick insists, as examination reveals, an inguinal hernia that was indeed about to strangulate. The surgery saved the child's life. The attending physician admitted on record that had Dick delayed the visit by a day, his son would have died. Dick spent the rest of his life trying to understand the source of what had contacted him. His 8,000-page private journal, published after his death as the Exegesis, documents his search. At the end, he arrived at a conclusion that resonates with every case we have examined. The intelligence was his own higher self speaking across time. 7 centuries of evidence. Thousands of documented cases, letters written before events unfolded, dreams logged in journals, newspaper archives preserved, court testimony entered into the record, university laboratories producing replicable results. Something has been happening across the entire span of recorded history, and its frequency is accelerating. Here's what every case we examine tonight has in common. Swedenborg in Gothenburg, Lincoln in Washington, Twain in St. Louis, Williams in Cornwall, Robertson in New York, Dunne in London, Lyttelton in Priestley gathering the archive, Eryl Jones in Aberfan, Dr. Barker in his London office, W.T. Stead aboard the Titanic, Bem at Cornell, Radin at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, Robertson in Dunstable, Wargo at his writing desk, Dick in California. Each one of them accessed information that originated in a moment of time ahead of the one they occupied. Once you see the mechanism, it rearranges everything you believe about the shape of reality. You are a consciousness with access to the entire timeline of your life, and what I propose, you have access to all the different timelines that are available to you. Your past, your present, and all the different futures available to you. All of it exists inside a single field of awareness. Every moment you have already lived and every moment you have yet to live, all the different possible moments exist simultaneously across the continuum. Sometimes you're experiencing a reality that may not happen. That's why it's not 100% accurate, but sometimes you do. Sometimes in dreams, in meditations, in heart-open moments, the filter separating one slice of time from another relaxes, and information crosses. Your future self has been sending signals your entire life. You dismissed most of them as intuition, as coincidence, as imagination, as the wandering of a quiet mind. But if you follow the right process, utilizing the right techniques, which I've been teaching in my events, you can specifically connect to a version of yourself that lives the greatest life you could ever imagine. And you can develop this as a skill. You can become entangled with your future self. Now, the cases we walk through represent the portion of the phenomenon strong enough to have reached documentation. For every Swedenborg, there are thousands of ordinary people who have experienced a flash of future knowing and logged it in their diaries. For every Lincoln dream, millions of quieter dreams that turned out accurate, later filed away as deja vu or dismissed as chance. I am sure that you have done this. Please share it in the comments if you can. The archive is vastly larger than the documented cases suggest. And across the last 30 years, the phenomenon has been accelerating. The data is showing, the researchers are measuring it. Ordinary people are reporting it at rates that dwarf anything in the historical record. Why? Because human consciousness is waking up. Here's what I've discovered over 8 years of daily work with this material. Future self-communication happens more reliably under specific conditions. When the body enters a coherent state, when the mind drifts into alpha and theta frequencies, when the heart opens, when the nervous system releases its grip on the illusion of linear time. These conditions arrive spontaneously in dreams, which is why precognitive dreaming dominates the historical archive. They can also be cultivated deliberately through meditations, through heart coherence, through visualization. One condition, above all others, produces them faster than any private practice: a coherent group field. When 200 people sit together in a single room, breathing in rhythm, holding the same elevated state, the field they generate amplifies every individual signal moving through it. The bandwidth between present self and future self opens wider. I have seen it. It opens wider than it ever does in solitary practice. I've watched this happen in room after room across the last few years, in Los Angeles, in Newark, in Maui, people moving as one version of themselves and walking out as something closer to the self they were always meant to be. Information arriving, clarity arriving, contact with the future self arriving in ways people describe as the most profound experience of their lives. In fact, I just said Maui right now, and I have not gone yet, but I've had such vivid experiences of what will be happening in Maui that it is a future memory for me. So 3 days, 9 sessions, 1 complete timeline shift. The Hilton Anaheim, July 24th through the 26th. A room of committed seekers practicing the exact conditions under which the future self communication moves from theoretical curiosity into working reality. What I've given you is historical evidence today. I've shown you throughout history with documented cases that we can become precognitive. And I've shown you that they have found that those precognitive experiences were all examples of communications from the future self. What I'm saying is, after 8 years of research, I have figured out an exact protocol for you to communicate with your future self, to align with them, to merge with them, to create a complete and total identity shift through elevated emotion and specific meditation sequences. Now, you might be able to experience flashes of it with a single meditation, but you can really feel it fully if you go on the journey where we activate your pineal gland. You meet your higher self, you see into your perfect future, you quantum jump into it, you undergo a bliss body activation, you regain your power, you bring it back to yourself, and you start to navigate this new version of yourself. It opens up large sums of money flow, love, total healing. It's really one of the most magical and incredible experiences, and I'm so honored to facilitate it. I would love to see you there. We have tickets available right now. You can get them at www.brianscottlive.com/Anaheim. The link is in the description. I hope to see you there. These events have changed my and many others' lives. And what do we say? How do we look at these examples of the past? Is it random? Part of what's happening when you're reading into future events is in what we do in shifting realities, because what you can see and feel are these obvious big moments. A lot of what we've seen here with the Titanic and other major moments, those flash across the different timelines as key pivot points on our way. And what I want to train you to do is go beyond those pivot points, so it doesn't have to be some sort of airline disaster, but you can acquire the information that you need to find the right business deal, meet the perfect love, to heal yourself perfectly. All of it becomes available to you. It is the most magical and wonderful thing. I hope that you find a way to join me there. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. Join my community at school.com as well, where we join together on a weekly basis and we go deeper with these future self techniques. In addition to remote viewing, we studied an infinite array of topics. And I hope that you can join me there. We have group sessions and networking sessions and an amazing community that is working together to manifest your dreams. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.